Over the years, I've picked up a lot of little things that have helped me get more out of card shows, and that means being more efficient, making more money, and just generally having a better experience. And today I want to share 31 of those things with you so that you can get the most out of your next show. Let's dive right in. Number 1, define success before you walk in the door. Guys, card shows can be overwhelming, and so before you walk in, just take a couple minutes to think through what do you actually want to have happen. So whether it's finding a specific card you've been wanting to buy, or selling inventory, or just networking and enjoying the experience, I promise you'll do way less aimless wandering if you have some kind of game plan in advance. Number 2, carry the cards that you know you want to move in your hand. The easier you make it to show someone your cards, the more conversations you're going to have and the faster you're going to be able to move. Don't spend all day digging through your backpack. Number 3, be efficient with your time. There's nothing wrong with digging through the dollar bins if you enjoy that, and every once in a while you'll find a hidden gem, but if it takes you an hour and a half to make $6, just think about what your hourly rate actually was during that time. And I bet you could have spent that same amount of time finding a better opportunity somewhere else. So you got to remember, your time does have value too. Number 4, know your selling thresholds. So guys, you're going to have all kinds of people offering you 70 and 75% of market value for your cards, and you have to decide, is it really worth it to you to take that money and give away some true value? Now, when I'm looking at this, what I'm doing is considering, all right, how hard would this card be for me to move on my own? Especially knowing that we have eBay access at any given time. I can put up a card for auction and get 100% minus, roughly 13% of eBay fees and end up with 87% net of the market value. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to move on from highly liquid players or cards for 70% of the value. You're just giving up way too much right there. Now, if you value liquidity and you want to move out of a lot of assorted cards that have nothing to do with each other, that are going to take some work to piece out, that's a little different. And that's where I would be willing to give a little bit more to a dealer who's willing to put in the work to piece those cards out for full market price. So in that scenario, 70-75% might be appropriate. But if I'm selling a highly liquid Shohei Ohtani card, I have no reason to give up much, if any, value on that. And some dealers will pay you full market price, or at least close to it, for those players that they know they want to have in their showcase. Usually my strategy here is on cards that I know I'll have an easy time moving, and especially if they're rarer or harder to find, that's the type of card that I'm going to be asking 90, 95, 100% value on. And I may not be able to move it at the show, but that's okay, because I can go home and list it on eBay at any given time. Or I can walk to one of the many card consignment operations that are going to be at the very same show and hand my card to them and ask them to sell it for me and get me 85, 87% for it. If someone's only offering you 70% of market value for your card, that's totally fine. They're welcome to do that, especially if you're the one that brought that card up to their table and they weren't actively looking for it. You're going to get some of that, but that might just not be your buyer, and it might just be time to go on to the next table. One of the nice things about shows is that there are no selling fees. So if you can make a deal like this and you get 85 to 90%, the dealer gets a little bit of a discount, so they've got some room too. You end up with what you would have ended up with on eBay regardless. Everyone walks away a winner. But it definitely helps to have a feel for what you're looking for going into the show. And speaking of which, number 5, price your cards before the show. Guys, please do the research and please know what your own inventory is worth. I promise you, no one's going to offer you 700% of market value for the cards that you have. And it's borderline disrespectful to go up to a dealer and say, well, I don't know what I want for it. Like, you need to know what you're asking for your cards, and they might counter your price, but you have to at least give them a starting point, just like you would ask a dealer to know what their starting point is on a card. If I walk up to a dealer table and they don't have anything priced, I don't even want to mess with them because I know that they're not serious about selling stuff. So same thing goes if you're walking a show and you're walking up to a dealer, you better know what your stuff is worth. And after you've done the research, have some confidence when you explain to them, well, the last couple went for this and this on this date and this date, and so because of that, I'm looking for this. That's a really clear, well put together argument for what the price is, and it's hard for me to argue with that if you've laid out clear reasoning. You will make way more deals if you actually do this research in advance instead of trying to figure it out on the fly, and you also leave less room for a dealer to push you around on pricing because you don't even know the value of your own cards. And bonus tip, if you happen to be a dealer, guys, put a price tag on your card, for crying out loud. People are trying to get a feel for what you're asking for, and if you don't price your cards, I'm literally skipping your booth because I know you're not serious about selling stuff. Don't waste my time and I won't waste yours. Number 6, cash is king. This has been the case for a long time, but a lot of people want to deal in cash, and it speaks volumes when you can set a bunch of cash on the table and say, all right, I'm ready to go. Here's my money. Can we make a deal for this card? Take cash, it makes it a lot easier to make deals. Which leads us right into number 7, bring a few small bills. It's such a pain when you're trying to work out a deal and you finally agreed to a price and then you got to say, do you have a 5? I don't. Anyone have a 5 around here? It's worth making that 5-minute trip to the bank beforehand so you have small bills ready to go. Number 8, take a picture to document the deals you make. Guys, you're going to make a lot of deals throughout the day if you're actively wheeling and dealing, and it's really difficult to do accounting in real time and keep good records. So what I like to do is lay out the cards, lay out the money, and just snap a picture on my phone. So then after the show, I can go back and remember, oh yeah, this is what I got for this card, this is what I paid for this one, and you can update your records accordingly. Without this, it's really hard to go back and try to recreate what was what throughout the day. Number 9, and guys, this one is near and dear to my heart. Wear deodorant. We've all heard the stigma of the smelly card collector who lives in their mom's basement, and I'll tell you what, we can take action to break this stigma once and for all, but it takes all of us, and we've got to work together on this. So do yourself and everyone around you a favor and wear deodorant. Number 10, skip the good deals so you can afford the great deals. There are so many cards at shows, so it's okay to walk away from the average opportunities when your budget could be used for something that's truly special or that you can't actually find online nearly as easily. I highly recommend waiting for the stuff that you really want to add to your inventory versus just spending your money for the sake of spending money. There are so many tables to go through, and if you're only feeling like, this deal's okay, like just skip it and get to the next table. You'll find something better out there to spend your money on. Number 11, if you're someone who grades cards, take advantage of being able to inspect condition in person before buying. This is one of the biggest advantages of shows over buying online, where you can't actually see the condition until after you've made the purchase. A lot of sellers will let you look at the cards, even pull them out of the cases to see for yourself what the condition looks like before deciding whether or not to buy them. If I'm looking for gradable stuff at a show, I also like to go to the tables that don't have a bunch of graded slabs in their showcase. Oftentimes those are the dealers that are actively grading cards themselves, so you're probably less likely to find a raw card that's in gradable condition from those types of sellers compared to the ones that are mostly dealing in raw cards. Number 12, wear comfortable shoes. It sounds obvious, but I made this mistake myself years ago and wore shoes to try to look cool, and by the end of the day I thought my legs were going to fall off of my body. So highly recommend wearing shoes for comfort rather than style. You will thank yourself later. You're going to walk many miles on concrete floors at these convention centers. Wear comfortable shoes. Number 13, if you're grading things on site, drop off your grading submissions first thing. Getting them in line early oftentimes is the difference between getting them back the same day versus later in the show versus having to wait and having them shipped back to you. So get your cards dropped off as soon as you possibly can. There's really no benefit to waiting. Number 14, have a plan for navigating the show. Especially at the massive shows like the National, it's really easy to get lost. And so I like to start by just going to the tables of the guys that I know first. So that means my card friends or people that I deal with regularly, and I want to make sure that I don't miss their tables. And then I just try to work through one aisle at a time so there's some kind of rhyme or reason to it rather than being all over the place where you lose track of what's what and where you saw which cards. Number 15, network. Use this as an opportunity, guys. There's going to be a lot of content creators there. There are going to be dealers there. There are going to be grading companies there. There's going to be consignment companies there that are selling hundreds or thousands of dollars of your inventory for you. Go and meet them. Go and talk to the people that you've only talked with online before. You might actually make yourself a card friend, and that's not necessarily a bad contact to have in the future. Relationships do matter, and I've never regretted taking the time to meet someone in person. Number 16, let technology do the work. So there are some really good apps out there these days, guys, that didn't used to exist years ago, but Card Ladder, Market Movers, even the PSA app give you ways to scan cards with your phone and quickly identify what they are and give you a quick estimate of what the value of that card is. And naturally, if you're someone who grades cards, hopefully you're using our grading research software Coin, which lets you do 5 hours of research in 5 seconds so you can land on the cards that have the highest grading upside. If you've never tried Coin before, I'll leave a link in the description where you can grab a free 7-day trial and see what you think. But otherwise, let's get to the next tip. Number 17, bring snacks. Guys, this one sounds obvious, but convention food is expensive. The lines are usually pretty long, and it's also usually terrible stadium food that makes you feel like garbage. So I don't know about you, I'm all for destroying a giant platter of nachos. It's one of my favorite things to do, but just not when I'm here to do business all day. And so I feel like your mother a little bit when I say this, but make sure you eat a good breakfast in the morning and then just throw a couple protein bars in your bag and you'll be good to go. And while we're on the seemingly obvious train, number 18, stay hydrated. Guys, it does sound obvious until you've been talking and walking the show for 9 hours and you ask yourself, why does my mouth feel like the Gobi Desert? And then you realize, like, oh, I haven't had a drop of liquid since 8 a.m. and it's now 6 p.m. Got it. Just don't forget to take care of your basic human needs. Number 19, if you find the right card, don't assume it'll still be there later. Great inventory has a way of disappearing quickly while you're thinking about it. And so if you see a card that you know you want to get, buy it. You might not have a chance later, and you might not be able to find it either, depending on the size of the show. Number 20, be willing to negotiate. Guys, don't be scared of this. It's okay. The other person's a human being too, and negotiating sometimes can feel uncomfortable, but you will help get yourself a better deal if you just ask sometimes. And you got to know, very few dealers are going to put a price tag on their cards with their absolute bottom dollar from the beginning because they're expecting people to make offers and negotiate a little bit. So a couple tips for you here. Don't ask the seller to negotiate against themselves. Make an offer first. So if they have a price on the card, don't say, what's the best you can do on this? Just make them an offer. If it's a $100 card and you think it's worth 90, ask them if they'd do 80 and see if you can meet somewhere in the middle. Second one, and this is my favorite thing, but ask for a throw-in to sweeten the deal just a little bit at the very end. So especially on bigger deals, think about like a $5,000 deal that you've been going back and forth and you're finally really close to agreeing to terms, but then you ask for a $50 throw-in. On a $5,000 deal, that seems tiny, right? But if someone walked up to you on the street and handed you a $50 bill, wouldn't you be pretty stoked about that? So $50 in the context of the bigger deal feels like a small ask, but at the same time, $50 is $50, right? So it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst thing they can say is no. Along similar lines, number 21, the person who needs the deal the least usually wins the negotiation. So remember that being willing to walk away is often your biggest advantage here. Dealers want to make deals. They want to turn their cards into cash. And so if you're trying to buy something, but they're priced a little too high, it's okay to tell them, it's just too much for me. I'm going to pass on this. And sometimes they will change their tune and come down a little bit instead of losing the deal entirely. And by the way, while we're on this topic, guys, just be a normal person. Introduce yourself, have a conversation. You got to remember, dealers negotiate with hundreds of people all day long. And the guy who's friendly and respectful is probably the one who's going to get the benefit of the doubt if you end up negotiating a deal. Number 22, consider cash plus trade deals. This is one of my favorite things to do at shows because you've got everything laid out in front of you. There's no online back and forth that takes weeks to try to hammer out a trade. It's literally every card is in front of you and you can pull out whatever you've got with you and show the dealer and just say, all right, I like this card, this card, this card. And they can go through your box and pick out the ones they like. And then you can see if you can hammer out a deal. But oftentimes this is the best place to make trades, and doing the cash plus trade option is usually one of the fastest and most efficient ways to actually make deals happen. Number 23, don't let the excitement of the show lower your standards. A lot of times we're so excited about the show because we drove across the country, or we've pulled out a bunch of money to spend, or we've gone through all of our inventory and we've priced everything to try to be ready to make some deals. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make deals. We don't need to suddenly overpay or settle for taking way less money than we'd be able to easily get online just because we're caught up in the moment. So keep your cool, realize that yes, there is some opportunity to make moves at a show, but you don't have to do anything. Don't lower your standards. Number 24, bring sellable inventory. And the keyword here is sellable, because if we're bringing a bunch of cards, but then we have to ask way above market price for every single card, we're just not going to move those. And then all we're doing is putting more weight in our backpack or in our carrying case, more value that we're moving around the show that we've got to keep track of for no reason at all. So don't bother bringing cards that you're not realistically willing to let go of for at or close to market value. The obvious way to look at this is to look at recent sales and check comps to make sure that you are comfortable with market price. But the other thing that you can do is just look at what's active on eBay and make sure that you can actually buy this card for way cheaper than what you'd be asking for. If you're good with market value, take the card. If you're not, leave it at home. It's that simple. Number 25, throw a phone charger in your bag. Guys, you get bonus points here if it's portable, so you're not chained to a wall. But remember, your phone is your pricing guide here. So you're going to be using it quite a bit. Make sure it's charged in the morning and bring that charger so you're ready to go. Number 26, ask questions. You're surrounded by some of the smartest and most connected minds in the entire industry. Take advantage of it. Pick up some knowledge, get a pulse on the market. Ask dealers which players they've been moving the most. There's a lot to be learned if you just ask. Number 27, protect your stuff. Unfortunately, theft is a thing, and sometimes these shows can have bad actors. So keep track of your money and your inventory at all times. And one little tip here, if I'm ever working on a deal and I want to set my bag down, I like to actually step through one of the loops of my bag so it can't easily be swiped. Number 28, bring supplies, penny sleeves, top loaders, maybe an empty box for any pickups that you make. They weigh almost nothing, and I always feel like it's better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. Number 29, don't put your bag on a dealer showcase. You got to remember, dealers are paying good money to be set up at these shows, and that's basically their storefront that you're putting your giant bag of crap on top of. So if you're doing that, you're blocking their cards so that their other potential customers cannot see their stuff. You're taking up space and you're risking scratching or damaging their display. Just don't do it. And if you absolutely have to, ask them first and just say, hey, is it okay if I set my bag here for just a moment? A little bit of respect goes a long way. Number 30, it only takes one table to change your entire show. This could be one buyer or it could be one card, one conversation. So don't get discouraged if the first few hours don't go the way that you want. I've had shows where I've been walking all day long and I haven't made a single deal. And then I'll walk up to a table and it's the person that has a card that I'm looking for. And they also happen to be dealing in the exact types of cards that I have to sell. So we end up hashing out a deal and I end up walking out with thousands of dollars in my pocket and a card that I wanted. So you've got to stay engaged all day long because you never know who you're going to walk up to or what you might find next. Number 31, go with a card friend. Guys, getting a second opinion can save you from making an expensive mistake or getting tunnel vision on a deal that maybe you should walk away from. And card shows are simply more fun when you have someone to actually share the experience with. Some of my best friends are actually people I met through cards originally, and now we've met up in person many times. We've gone through shows together. It's a lot of fun when you have people to bounce ideas off of and just share the experience with. So there you have it, 31 card show tips. Now, hopefully these tips help you get more out of your next show, but if you're someone that can't make it to shows very often, or if you just want to learn how to build a profitable card business from home, the good news is you don't have to go to shows. And I actually put together a step-by-step video that shows a path to build cards into a $1,000 per month business in today's market. I'll leave a link in the description if that sounds at all helpful, but otherwise don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you on the next video.